The bell above the diner door rang softly as Claire adjusted her apron. For the third time that night, exhaustion weighing on her shoulders like a soaked blanket, because this wasn't just another late shift. It was rent week, daycare payment week, the kind of week where every dollar decided whether hope survived or cracked. And when the man walked in, nobody knew he was a billionaire, because he wore no suit, no watch, no arrogance, just quiet eyes that scanned the room like he was counting ghosts. And Claire greeted him the way she greeted everyone, with a tired smile that still tried to be kind, because kindness was the one thing poverty hadn't taken from her yet. And she seated him by the window where rain traced crooked lines down the glass. And as she poured his coffee, he barely nodded, said nothing, and opened a thin notebook like someone used to thinking more than talking. And Claire noticed his hands, scarred, steady, not soft like rich men she'd seen on TV, and she moved on, serving families, truckers, a crying baby at table 7, while her phone buzzed in her pocket reminding her daycare would charge a late fee tomorrow. And when she returned, the man ordered the cheapest thing on the menu, ate slowly, methodically, like he was measuring time itself, and Claire refilled his coffee 3 times without complaint, even though her feet screamed and her manager barked orders like she owed him air. And when the man finally stood up, paid in cash, and walked out into the rain without looking back, Claire glanced at the receipt and felt her chest tighten. 000 tip. And for a moment she just stood there, staring, because the night had already beaten her down, and that 0 felt like the final punch, like proof that kindness was expensive and unrewarded. And she wiped the table with sharper strokes than necessary, fighting the burn in her eyes, until she lifted the plate and froze, because, taped neatly underneath, was a folded napkin, thick, deliberate, and her heart skipped as she unfolded it, revealing not money, but a handwritten note that read, "Sometimes the test comes before the reward. Check your locker." And Claire's breath caught because no customer knew about her locker. No one cared enough to know, and confusion wrestled with fear as she walked to the back, hands shaking, every step louder than the last. And when she opened the locker, something slid out and hit the floor, a sealed envelope, heavy, real, and inside was a cashier's check so large she thought it had to be fake, her vision blurring as she read the amount again and again, enough to erase her debts, save her home, secure her child's future. And at the bottom was a card with a simple signature and words that made her knees buckle. "I leave 0 tips to see who still serves with heart. Tonight you changed everything." And as Claire collapsed onto the bench, sobbing silently so no one would see, she didn't know yet that this was only the beginning, because the man she thought had walked out of her life forever was about to walk back in and change it in ways money alone never could. And if you've ever wondered whether kindness still matters in a world that feels cruel, this story is for you. So don't forget to subscribe, because what happens next will restore your faith in humanity. Claire didn't sleep that night, because miracles don't let you rest. They make you question reality. And by morning, she checked the envelope 5 times, expecting it to vanish like a dream, but it didn't. And when she went to the bank trembling, the teller's face changed, managers whispered, and suddenly she was being offered coffee instead of suspicion, because the signature on the check belonged to a man whose name built cities and crush markets, a billionaire known for ruthless decisions and cold logic. And when Claire returned to the diner days later, she wasn't the same woman anymore, not because of the money, but because she carried a truth most people never discover, that someone had seen her, truly seen her, and that truth changed the way she stood, spoke, breathed. And when the man returned exactly 1 week later, sitting at the same table, rain again tracing the glass, Claire didn't rush, didn't flinch, just served him calmly. And this time he looked up and smiled, a real smile, the kind that carried weight, and he said, "You didn't quit." And Claire replied, "Neither did you." And they talked, not about money, but about loss, about raising children alone, about nights when silence feels heavier than noise. And when he finally revealed who he was, Claire didn't gasp or bow. She thanked him for believing in a stranger. And he told her something she'd never forget. The world rewards talent, but it's built on kindness. And months later, Claire no longer wore an apron. She ran a foundation that helped single parents survive emergency weeks, funded quietly by a billionaire who never wanted his name on anything. And every time Claire told her story, she ended it the same way, reminding people that you never know who's testing you, watching you, or learning from you. And that sometimes the greatest tip isn't money, it's faith. And if this story moved you even a little, subscribe to the channel. Because stories like this remind us that kindness still changes everything, one unseen moment at a time.